How strong is present Cell in Dragon Ball Z? You know, the Cell that Trunks and Krillin killed when they discovered Dr. Gero's secret lab and supercomputer. This Cell would have been far stronger than the Cell we had in Dragon Ball Z that fought in the Cell games. Present Cell could indeed take on gods in Dragon Ball Super if he was left in his Bacta tank. Now there is a big reason for this. The big reason is the spy bots. Now the spy bots, Dr. Gero's creations, pick up information, take it to the supercomputer, and the supercomputer creates Cell using all of the information gathered to basically create the perfect killing machine. The perfect being. How strong the Cell we had in Dragon Ball Z, how strong he became, was due to what the supercomputer collected through the spy bots. It anticipated how strong the android needed to be in order to deal with the threats of Super Saiyan and everyone else's rise in power. It had to be superior. Now, what is the difference between present Cell and future Cell? Now, as we are all aware, future Cell was made from the cells of 5 beings in Dragon Ball. Different dubs suggest there are more than 5, but originally in the manga there are 5. There is Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Frieza, and King Cold. Now, when did the spy bots pick up the information in Cells? Well, it was during the Saiyan saga. It was also during the battle between Frieza, King Cold, and Goku. Future Goku. That was the only time Dr. Gero's spy bots could collect the data on Frieza and King Cold. Now, there is a big difference with the future timeline and the events of the main timeline during the time Frieza is on Earth, and that is the appearance of future Trunks and him dealing with Frieza and King Cold. The spy bots would also detect Super Saiyan Trunks versus Super Saiyan Goku. Remember, the supercomputer runs by itself, which makes it even scarier and unpredictable. There are so many possibilities on how much data those spy bots could have collected. We can't apply character motives to it. Everything is based on data. It's very likely that the battle between Super Saiyan Trunks and Super Saiyan Goku would cause the spy bots to interact with the supercomputer and prepare present Cell to be even stronger to deal with that level of power taking place. There is not just one Super Saiyan they're detecting, like in the future timeline, there are now 2, so there is potential the supercomputer can make present Cell stronger straight from birth. Because you have to realize something, when Piccolo fought Cell in Ginger Town, Piccolo destroyed a spy bot. They were still collecting data. So the information from Super Namekian Piccolo, his power, strengthening present Cell even more. So if they were still around then, imagine what they would collect during the Cell games. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, imagine what they would collect. They're still operational after the 7-year time skip, going into the Buu saga. Some Super Saiyan 3 cells, yo. Vegito cells. Majin Buu. Collect some Super Saiyan God cells. You know where I'm going with this. Present Cell could be untouchable if those spy bots do their damn job. If they become very greedy for information and power. You are being very greedy today, 19. You have absorbed more than enough energy from Goku, have you not?
I will deal with Vegeta.
Very well, but the others are mine. Understand? Now you guys will have to check this out because this is very important. You see, Cell, when he was talking about that spy bot that Piccolo destroyed, he said it's too late, it's already gathered all the cells, the research has begun, they are quite efficient in gathering that information on the cells. And he says he won't be completed for another 24 years. Now the 24 years thing is just Toriyama getting his timelines mixed up, it's more like 21 years. The 24 years thing was supposed to be from when Trunks was telling Goku about the androids. Because Cell came from the year 788, Toriyama forgot that it had already been 3 years since then, and he got his timelines mixed up. So yeah, it's more like 21 years, but that's still around age 786, when present Cell would spawn. And what happens in age 786? Well, it's 2 years after the Tenkaichi Budokai, where Goku met Oob. So Cell would spawn in that time span when Goku is training Oob. Now, depending on how strong he is from the supercomputer, let's look at the timeline of Dragon Ball Super, for example. That's a lot of data to be collected. Those spy bots could have gathered information from Moro, Broly, Gogeta, everything that happens in Dragon Ball Super on Earth, pumped into present timeline Cell, ready to be spawned during Goku and Oob's absence. Let's be honest here, guys. However strong you think he could become, it's way stronger than Future Cell. Let's be honest here. But I think the real hero of Dragon Ball Z, and everyone should be giving him way more credit for this, is Piccolo. Because Piccolo, with his bluff, He got this information out of Cell, the secret lab from Dr. Gero, where Present Cell was being kept. If it wasn't for Piccolo getting this information, Trunks and Krillin wouldn't have killed Present Cell, and that beast would have spawned with all of the data and cells from the events of Dragon Ball Super, and heck, even Dragon Ball Z later on in the Buu Saga and whatever. Very scary stuff. Only someone as wise and smart as Piccolo could draw out that information from someone like Cell. That's why he's the goddamn manager. Piccolo has saved Dragon Ball Z. If the Spybots continued to collect data after the events of future Trunks versus Super Saiyan Goku, which is supported when Super Namekian Piccolo does destroy a Spybot, if they continue collecting data and cells all the way through the Dragon Ball Super events, then present Perfect Cell could take on godly levels of power.
So another thing I want you to consider, guys, is present Perfect Cell being this strong, is that even possible? Well, you should answer that question after taking into consideration the potential of Dr. Gero and the potential of Dr. Hedo. Look what they created. Dr. Gero took two mere humans and made them stronger than a Super Saiyan. His technology granted an insane buff to a mere human. Not only that, Dr. Gero could also create a pure machine known as Android 16, and it had the capability, the explosive potential to scare the living hell into Perfect Cell. Now you could argue Dr. Gero is more of a mastermind than Dr. Hedo. It's up for debate, but whatever. The Gammas are another example of how anything is possible in Dragon Ball, especially in the scientific field. You see, the Gammas were stated in not just one, but two versions of the Dragon Ball superhero story that they're on par with Goku and Vegeta. It's also mentioned in side material and interviews, so I don't care what level they're talking about in terms of Goku and Vegeta's power, but the fact that science was able to create something of this level, this far down Dragon Ball Super, is extraordinary, and present Perfect Cell has every right to be stronger than Battle of Gods characters at the very least by having their cells pumped into the Bacta tank the present Perfect Cell is in, giving him the nutrients, the information, the goddamn raw potential to wipe out the gods.
How he absorbs Android 17 and 18 is a totally different story, but they're both around, so it's at least possible that that could happen. He would just have to paralyze them when they're asleep with his tail or something.
Ah, yes, Android 17, you think you can hide on this island? 18 will be next. What? She's on Master Roshi's island. What is it with you androids and islands? I met you both on islands. I absorbed you both on islands. And now you're both living on islands. When will you ever learn?
Fun fact that Present Cell is in Dragon Ball Z Supersonic Warriors. He's used in Frieza's scenario, and Cell actually achieves his perfect form upon birth since Dr. Gero adjusted him not to need to absorb the android. And can you imagine that? Could you imagine Present Cell being born as Perfect Cell in the main timeline? Like, he's got his potential straight away. That's crazy. Now here's a fun fact and also some confusion in relation to the cells within Cell. You see, multiple people called out Toriyama for getting his story a bit wonky when Cell was explaining things like him mentioning Trunks' cells, how we could have acquired the cells of Trunks as well, but we had more than enough contributions from the Saiyans. Even though Trunks should be from the timeline that the future Cell came from, he came from the timeline where Goku was the one who killed Frieza and King Cold, so Trunks wouldn't have even been there. Do you see the problem there? Two different timelines. But that's fine, that can pass. But there's also confusion if Cell had Super Saiyan cells or Super Saiyan knowledge. And the answer to that is yes. Even though the Spybots collected the cells and data from the Saiyan saga, where Goku and Vegeta were there and they didn't have Super Saiyan at the time, there is evidence the Spybots were still collecting data, as shown in Ginger Town when Cell was fighting Piccolo. Even though they don't have to collect extra cells, they can still collect information and feed the information to the supercomputer, so Cell will have that knowledge. So in the future timeline, why wouldn't the Spybots still be active the same as the main timeline? There is no reason they wouldn't. So when Frieza and King Cold arrived and Goku killed them, presumably as a Super Saiyan, let's be honest, those Spybots would have taken the cells from Frieza and King Cold, and even if they didn't take anything from Goku at that time because they already had Goku cells, they would still see him as a Super Saiyan and feed that information to the supercomputer. Thus it begs the question if there's a cap to how strong Cell could become. become. Because if the spy bot saw that Super Saiyan Goku was extremely more powerful than his Saiyan Saga self, why didn't they collect more cells from Goku there and then and strengthen Cell further? And could they really just keep collecting cells over and over through the years and make Cell even stronger? So there's that to wonder about as well, and if Cell has a cap in how strong he can actually become. I mean, Cell may have known about Super Saiyan, he may not have. Contrary to the anime, Cell didn't know all the things he could do in the manga. He didn't even know he could regenerate until he watched Piccolo do it. So no, he may not have known about Super Saiyan. The only techniques that he knew were what the spy bots had seen. If he had all the genetic memory of the cells they collected, then he would have known instant transmission, but he didn't learn that until after he witnessed Goku doing it multiple times. And of course, his near death from him self-destructing. Something genetically changed and he knew instant transmission. It's like Cell probably didn't even know he could breathe in space until he regenerated after blowing himself up with King Kai, and then realizing, oh, I can just breathe in space, and then just realize it's Frieza cells on the reason why he can do that, since he knew the others couldn't do it. You know, Cell's a biological learning computer. Of course, there is a possibility the present version of Cell that was killed by Trunks and Krillin isn't stronger than future Cell, and it depends if, whilst Cell is still in containment, if the supercomputer can still make him stronger and pump more power and information into Cell while he's in containment, or it might have to be done before the process even begins, you know what I'm saying? So that was up for debate, but the one Piccolo destroyed, it seemed that it could transmit the information rather than just fly back to the base, because Cell didn't seem bothered with Piccolo destroying it, implying it's already done its job, here and there monitoring Piccolo and Cell. So that's a pretty cool ability of the spy bot. If that is the case, it can just transmit what it's collected to the supercomputer. Another fun fact, in case you didn't know, is that in Dragon Ball Super Hero, Magenta's Red Ribbon Army are apparently under the impression that the Cell who hosted the Cell games was present Cell, due to being unaware of the time traveling events that happened during that time. Yes, time traveling is extremely dangerous. But what I'm saying, guys, is even if I messed up with some consistency in this video, the topic itself is so damn inconsistent with the material given in Dragon Ball itself. Timelines, anything involving timelines and time travel, even Toriyama doesn't know what the hell he's doing sometimes, so you'll have to give me a break here. But I think it's a sweet ass topic to discuss on if present Cell would have been the beast that I strongly believe he would have been. Big shout out to Chi-Chi-verse over on Twitter. Well, X, but who says X, right? Go give her a follow. She's helped me with this video and the information collecting all the manga material. I really appreciate it. Go and follow the legend.